Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com, the climate guy setting the record straight about climate. This video is part 3 of my series on Katharine Hayhoe's National Climate Assessment. It's titled 100% Confidence of Incompetence in the National Climate Assessment. This short video is an expose of stunning stupidity and incompetence among mainstream climate scientists. Today I'm discussing page 14 of the National Climate Assessment. It says, many lines of evidence demonstrate that it is extremely likely that human influence has been the dominant cause of the observed warming since the mid-20th century. And then they say down here, natural variability is limited to a small fraction of observed climate trends over decades. Very high confidence. Well, I have very high confidence that the people who wrote this report are completely incompetent, and I'm going to show that to you now. Let's take a closer look at this graph now. It says human activities are the primary driver of recent global temperature rise, and they show 3 possible causes. Human caused, which is a big red bar, solar, which is a little tiny yellow bar, and volcanic, which is a negative little green bar. So obviously humans are the only thing that could have been causing the recent temperature rise. But wait a minute, didn't they forget something? How about the oceans? Every weather modeler in the world understands that sea surface temperatures are the most important factor for medium to long-range weather predictions. And sea surface temperatures are controlled by long-term oscillations like the Pacific Decadal Oscillation and the Atlantic Multi-Decadal Oscillation. On this graph, I've plotted the Atlantic Multi-Decadal Oscillation in blue, which makes a nice 60-year-long sine wave, versus lower troposphere temperatures measured from satellites. There are 2 different sets of lower troposphere satellite data. One is from the University of Alabama at Huntsville, that's plotted in light red, and the other is from remote sensing systems, and that's plotted in light green. And as you can see, there's almost a perfect correlation between lower troposphere temperatures and the Atlantic Multi-Decadal Oscillation in blue. And in this next graph, I've plotted out the correlation. On the x-axis is the Atlantic Multi-Decadal Oscillation, and on the y-axis is the UAH lower troposphere temperature anomaly. You can see that there's an excellent correlation there with an R-squared value greater than 0.8. So now let's go back and look at the National Climate Assessment graph. They had human-caused, solar, and volcanic, but somehow they forgot to mention the oceans. The oceans make up 2/3 of the surface of the Earth, and they contain the vast majority of heat available to the climate system. How could anyone possibly ignore that? The level of incompetence here is off scale. I had the good fortune of being friends with hurricane forecaster Dr. Bill Gray from Colorado State University, who passed away last year. Bill was probably the greatest tropical meteorologist in the world, and he invented modern hurricane forecasting. Bill was also a very vocal climate skeptic who fought back hard against junk science like we see in the National Climate Assessment. When he passed away last year, even hardcore climate alarmists like Weather Underground described him as a towering figure in hurricane science. Bill was literally a towering figure. He was very tall. I spent many happy days in Bill's office at Colorado State University talking to him about thermohaline circulation. Bill explained that cyclical changes in the salinity of the mid-Atlantic drove ocean circulation patterns. Because Bill understood this, he was able to make the first successful seasonal hurricane forecast. Bill Gray was a man of incredible integrity and high standards. Vice President Al Gore cut off his NOAA funding in 1993 after Bill refused to go along with his climate scam. Bill was one of the most respected forecasters in the world, and he never got another penny out of the government because he simply refused to go along with Gore's extortion scheme. And Bill even took fire from people who are now climate skeptics. While Judith Curry was still on the dark side, she accused Bill of brain fossilization. Well, I knew Bill very well, and he was a genius, and he never gave in to the climate scam. He was one of the very few people in climate science academia who stood up to all the pressure. On his deathbed, Bill asked me to carry on his climate legacy, and that's the primary motivation for me doing this now. Bill understood that ocean circulation patterns control the climate, but modern climate scientists are too dense to even recognize them as a factor. I'm absolutely stunned by the level of incompetence in this National Climate Assessment. Visit Toto on the web at realclimatescience.com. He's been pulling back the curtain on junk science for a long time.